It's time for another Bears mock draft here on Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham, 6.0 coming at you here on today's show. We promised we would do a mock draft today if we got 50 or more subscribers on our draft video earlier this week. You guys answered the bell, so shout out to our new subscribers. Turn on the noties if you haven't already. That way you never miss an episode. So we will get into that here in just a moment. But I want to know, offseason is fully upon us. Free agency comes first, obviously, but historically, we've done a lot of draft coverage and free agency. If you had to pick one over the other, now, full disclosure, we're going to do videos on both, but would you rather have more draft content or free agency content? Type D for draft, F for free agency. We're going to do plenty of both, but, if we get a lot of votes one way or the other, maybe we'll lean in that direction. So give us your thoughts, D for draft or F for free agency. Okay, mock draft 6.0 coming at you. Mason Graham in the simulator today fell to number 10, and this isn't one of those where I kept refreshing until he fell. First try, there he was at number 10. Could he slide? I wouldn't completely dismiss it. The combine in less than 2 weeks. We'll see how he tests. There's been some chatter. His arm length could be a little lower than scouts would like, so that could cause him to drop a few spots. Now, I'd be surprised if he fell to 10. I'd give it like a 20% chance, so I don't think it's great. Like Abdul Carter, there's no chance. I'd say Graham, there's a tiny chance. And, for me, he's one of those guys, if he is there at 10, that's like an automatic trigger pull. Just take him at that spot. He's graded out really well over the last couple of years per PFF. He had 5 sacks this year. He can rush the passer. He can defend the run as well. Good pass rush win rate for an interior guy. He's just very, very solid. Like, I don't view him as like one of these generational 3 to 5 time All-Pro type of players, but I think you're going to get like a 10 to 12 year starter and a guy who, might go to like 5 Pro Bowls, something like that. And that's something you could use because your defensive line needs more juice. They need more high-level players. I don't know exactly where he would fit in here. Would you start him next to Dexter? Would you kind of do a heavy rotation between your top 3 along with Billings as well? Obviously, Billings probably isn't a long-term guy, so maybe you kind of ease him in, and by mid-season he starts over Billings, and Billings becomes a backup. Who knows? But you definitely need more there because after Dexter and Billings, you really don't have anything you can point to at the defensive tackle position. And quite frankly, he might have the highest floor of any player in this draft. Like, I just don't see a scenario where he's not at least a good player. Now, could there be a scenario where he's just good and you want more than good with the number 10 pick? But in this draft, you're probably not getting a lot of Hall of Famers in this draft. Like, that's the value is on day 2. So if you get this guy at 10, I think it's really good value. I think he's a starter for a long time and potentially a guy who goes to several Pro Bowls. So I would like the pick. He'd be a guy, like I said, if he was sitting there at 10, kind of an automatic trigger pull for me because I think he'd be the best player available at a position of need. If you like the pick of Mason Graham at number 10, and if you would take him there, hit that like button because I think it would be an excellent pick for Ryan Poles. And if you agree with me, smash that like button. Okay, round 2, pick number 39. Donovan Jackson, the offensive lineman out of Ohio State. I think he's gaining some steam. I think you're looking late round 1, early mid-round 2. I'd say somewhere between 25 and 50 is probably where he's going to go. So with those 2 picks at 39 and 41, I think that's perfectly in the range of where he sits right now. I am fascinated to see his measurables at the NFL Combine because, again, something we've talked about extensively with Donovan Jackson is the versatility because he was a 2.5-year starter at left guard, but then this year when Josh Simmons went down, they kicked him out to left tackle. Unselfishness, went out there, took a game or 2 to kind of get his feet underneath him, but in that college football playoff run against some high-level pass rushers, he was pretty damn good. And I wonder if some teams will look at him as a tackle or at least as a guy they could explore out there. Now, I think he's probably a guard still, but there's something to be said for a guy who can is just a good teammate, unselfish. You love that. But B, in a pinch, hey, go finish this game out at tackle, like Joe Thuney, right? Like the Chiefs down the stretch were scrambling, and they put him out there, and obviously he didn't have a great Super Bowl, but without him kicking out there, they may not have even gotten to the Super Bowl. So someone who can do that, give you the ability to kick out to that tackle spot is obviously very valuable. I like him a lot. I think he's probably a left guard in the NFL, but the fact that he can go out there, I think, is just something extra he could bring to the table. Okay, my first trade here, I'm going to trade down from 41 with the Bills, pick up 56, 107, which is actually the Bears pick from last year that they traded to Buffalo to go up and get Austin Booker. And then 171, Buffalo gets 41 and 148 here. So a little 3-for-2 swap for the Bears. I like getting a fourth-round pick back because the Bears don't have one right now. And Aireontae Ersery still sitting there at 56. I'll be curious to see where he goes because I think there's a lot of variance with some of these offensive linemen on where they could go. He's got measurables and physical tools that I think could get him into the first round, but there could be enough weakness there that maybe he falls into the second because some scouts say the foot speed isn't exactly where you want it. But I like the tape I've seen of him. I thought he had a pretty good Senior Bowl. The measurables are there. He's just under 6'6", 339. He's a mauler, which I like, but he moves just well enough where I think he can be a starting left tackle in the NFL. And if you look at Detroit's offensive lines the last few years, they have maulers. Like a Taylor Decker is a mauler at left tackle. Poles historically has wanted more athletic offensive linemen, so be curious to see how he tests in Indianapolis. But if he can test well enough with that physicality, I think he's an intriguing guy where if you get him on day 2, maybe he's not a day one starter at left tackle, but maybe he starts at guard, or maybe he pushes Braxton Jones, or maybe you trade Braxton Jones and you do punch him in there at left tackle. So I like what he brings, and he's played 3 years at left tackle, so in the Big Ten, by the way, and he's more than held his own. Hey, it's never a bad time to say FGB. Get your FGB t-shirts today at chatsports.com/FGB. Plenty in stock. Go ahead and order them right now. And if you just want to, just rep the brand, get the shirt and type FGB in the comments. Okay, I'm going to go tight end here. Gunnar Helm, round 3, pick number 72. I think something we're probably not talking about enough is the fact that this tight end room is just not that good. Gerald Everett was a flop of a signing. Now maybe Ben Johnson thinks he can get him back to being that 400 or 500 yard per year guy. I doubt it. They can save, I think $5.5 million if they cut him, or $5 million, whatever it is. Maybe it's 4.5, whatever it is. They could save a pretty penny there. Mercedes Lewis, does he come back for one more year as a blocker? I wouldn't rule it out. But the last 2 years, you've just asked Cole Kmet to play, it seems like, every down. That wears on you eventually as a tight end because you're just battling in the trenches. You need some help behind him. It's quietly a need for Chicago. I really do think it is. Now, it's not one you're going to take one in the first round probably unless you just love Tyler Warren. But I like what Gunnar Helm brings to the table. He's very reliable as a pass catcher, runs good routes, has strong hands, only 2 drops last year, 7 touchdowns. He can work the seam. He can play in the red zone. He runs good out routes as well. That's a concept they ran a lot where he'd play in the slot and Quinn Ewers would hit him on the sideline. So he can do that. He's not as good of a blocker as you would like, but I think he can be serviceable. Full disclosure, if you got Gunnar Helm, your other tight end in that room absolutely has to be a block first tight end, especially with what Ben Johnson wants to do. So I'm fully acknowledging that. But I think if you brought him in here, the 2 tight end sets you could work with Cole Kmet and Gunnar Helm, both as receiving threats, I think could be pretty fun. And he's kind of just like a slot anyway, so maybe in this scenario you don't invest heavily at that number 3 receiver spot. So I think it gives you kind of some versatility in terms of your roster building options when it comes to your offensive arsenal. Name a prospect that you guys like that I haven't talked about. Maybe someone I haven't taken in a mock, or someone we haven't explored in our draft videos. There's going to be, I saw the combine list today, like 300 players. I clearly have not talked about them all. So if there's someone that you love and want me to look into, drop his name down below. Okay, round 4, pick 107, getting that pick from Buffalo. Damien Martinez. I'm a big fan of his. I don't know how much we've talked about him yet here on Bears Now, but he played 2 years at Oregon State, transferred to Miami this year. He's been productive since day one at the collegiate level, playing in 2 major conferences, the Pac-12 especially in 2023, which was arguably the best conference in the country that year before it dissolved, basically. Transfers to Miami, plays with Cam Ward this year. I thought it was even better this year because he had less carries, but his kind of bang for buck was better, over 6 yards per carry this year. He is a physical specimen. I can't remember exactly what he weighed in at the Senior Bowl, but I think he's like 225. He can get downhill. He's got a little shake to him, just enough at his size, and he will run you over. I think he could be a bell cow in the NFL. I really do. And I like kind of the opposite of his game compared to DeAndre Swift. Like Swift, perimeter guy, speed, catch the ball. Martinez, just hand him the ball between the tackles. Like I think that blend works. I think there's some similarities to David Montgomery here. I think there's some overlap. I think he's a little quicker potentially, so we'll see how the testing goes in Indy. But he was productive at 2 different schools who leaned on him, so I like that quite a bit. And I think he could be a day one, at minimum, rotation guy at the running back position. We're going to continue to pump out content here on Chicago Bears Now, so hit that subscribe button if you want full offseason coverage, the draft, free agency, news, rumors, trade buzz. It's all right here. All you got to do is subscribe. All right, we'll go a little rapid fire here for the rest of these picks. Jonah Monheim, we've talked about him a couple times. USC, he's played all along the offensive line, left tackle, guard, center. Now, he is not a tackle. His arms were, I think, 31 inches or even a little less at the Senior Bowl. He played center this last year. Look, he's an average athlete, but developmental center, day 3, high character guy. He was a team captain, I believe, at USC. Familiarity with Caleb Williams. I think bringing him in to be a backup, I like that. Maybe he develops into something down the road. R.J. Mickens, he was awesome in 2023. Was still good this year, but didn't play as well. I think safety is still a position you need to add at least a body there because we don't know Brisker's long-term health situation. Jalen Conyers, I mentioned a blocking tight end. Blocking freak. PFF blocking grade was 80.3 or something like that. He was one of the better blocking tight ends in college football this year, and he gave you a little Texas Tech a little production as a pass catcher. So I think he could be a tight end 3 potentially as a rookie in the NFL. Zachary Franklin, the receiver at Illinois, has some decent speed, developmental guy that could push for a roster spot. And then Elijah Alston, similar to to Mickens, better last year than this year for Miami, but has some decent pass rush ability coming off the edge. Again, round 7, you're not talking about guys that are going to start from day 1 or something like that, but players who have some talent that could push for a 53-man spot. So there you have it. Mock Draft 6.0 in the books here. Give us a letter grade down in the comments, A, B, C, D, or F. Let us know how you think we did. And don't forget to hit that like button, especially if you like the idea of Mason Graham at number 10. It's a bit of a pipe dream, but I don't think it's impossible depending on what happens in the draft. I'll say this, if Jackson Dart keeps rising, if he sneaks into that top 10, that definitely increases the possibilities. So drop a like if you agree with Mason Graham at 10.